Hey, Chris Liepe here with the Recording Revolution, and in this video we're going to be talking about ways to use subtle reverb and delay in layers to create a natural ambience around the voice. Oftentimes when we're working with vocals, recorded vocals, we'll slap a reverb on there and set it to something that sounds good or feels good when we're singing, but when it comes to really fine-tuning the space and the way that the reverb reacts with the vocal performance, or the way that the delay reacts with the vocal performance, this is an art all in and of itself. And so that's what we're going to be diving into. And we're going to be using a recent recording of a cover that I did, a Led Zeppelin cover of Since I've Been Loving You. And I'm going to show you what I did to create that aura around the voice and why. It involves using two different reverbs and a rhythmic delay, but there are all sorts of fine-tooth settings that we're going to be digging into that are intentional. It's this way of working with program material, with recorded material, that's going to make you way better at mixing and way better at arranging. If you'd like more help and you like this approach, if you'd like more help with your recordings and your performances, click the link below and join my free recording course, and I'll help you with all sorts of nuanced things about your recordings. All right, let's get into this. First of all, I'm going to show you the signal chain that I have set up here. And if you've watched some of my other videos, you'll notice that this isn't that unlike some of the other things that I've done. I've got a Shep's Omni channel. I'm adding a bit of saturation on the vocals. We're using just a tiny bit of de-essing, and you'll see how this interacts as we go along here. My EQ is flat, although I think I'm going to raise the presence up just a little bit here. And we're adding a decent amount of compression at 3.5 to 1, and then we're engaging the limiter once in a while too. You can see here in my file, I've got a very hot yet consistent file. There is no clipping, but I'm going in, it looks like there's compression going in. And there is. I'm using a Manley Core reference channel strip. It's an outboard compressor, limiter, and EQ. That's also what I'm talking through right now. And it allows me to be like this or like this. And it just takes it. The signal chain just takes it. I've talked about this. I talk about this in my free course. I talk about this in lots of other videos. If you want to capture great vocal performances, even if it's not an expensive one, but an outboard compressor into your DAW is really going to help you or your talent work without feeling like they're going to break something, or like they can't hear themselves sometimes and like they can hear themselves other times. So that's the dynamic front end. Now let's get into the reverbs and delays. I'm going to go ahead and just play this first part, and I'm going to play it without the backing. Well, I'll play it with some of the backing track, and then I'll mute the backing track. I've been working from 7 to 11 every night. It really makes life a drag. I don't think that's right. And this is the original band performance of Led Zeppelin's Since I've Been Loving You with Robert Plant's vocals taken out. More on that in another video. Now I'm going to solo out my performance so you can hear the ambience surrounding it. I've really been the best of fools. I did what I could, yeah. How I love you, baby. How I love you, girl. How I love you, darling. How I love you, baby. We love you, little girl. Little girl. But baby, since I've been loving you, yeah, I'm about to lose my worried mind. Oh, yeah. All right. So you can hear the delay trails going on. You can hear what's happening around the voice. There are three things going on here. There is an early reflections reverb, a very tight room reverb with just a little bit of decay that is widening the sound without creating much ambience. It's defining the closer part of the space. This is how we hear voices in rooms also, because we hear, if we're sitting next to someone, we hear their voice coming out of their face. Then we hear the immediate room, and we also hear the greater space around it. That's what I'm replicating, how we really hear people in a room. So we've got the short room reverb. Then we've got a hall reverb on a different aux send. Then we've got the delay on a different aux send. You can see my sends stacking up here. I'm not putting any of these effects on the insert, at least in this application. There is room to do that, but not in this application. This is how I generally work. Now, I've got my room reverb set up with the waves, Mani M. You can use any reverb, any room reverb. Just experiment with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bypass or mute my hall and delay, and we're going to listen through to this little section here again. Really been the best of fools. Or here. It really makes life a drag. Now, if I mute this reverb, it really makes life a drag. You definitely hear the wonderful qualities of the mic, the compression. It's wonderful, but I'm gonna put this back on now. It really makes life a drag. The goal with my room reverb, especially in this setting, should be to enhance the space around it just a little bit, but really broaden the sound. So you want it to be fairly full spectrum, and that's the way room reverbs usually are. You don't want it to be real high-endy. You don't want a lot of sibilance out of it. Now I'm going to use the same plugin, but I'm going to now use it in hall mode. And it's really interesting how different of a sound you can get out of it. And we're going to be experimenting with a key component of our bigger hall reverb here in just a second. Now I'm going to mute the room. We're going to go to the hall. Now, I want to point out that I've got my pre-delay cranked a little bit. Listen to just the room, or just the hall reverb here. It really makes life a drag. I don't think that's right. And here with a little bit more intense vocals. I've really been the best of fools. What you notice out of this reverb in particular is that you still hear the dry vocals very prominently. They're right here. I have not taken the vocals and moved them back in the mix at all. This is a huge problem with wetter vocals. Sometimes they take them from where they should be in a mix and they move them too far back. We don't want that. So by using pre-delay and by working with the amount of reverb we have, we allow the initial presence, attack, and texture of the vocals to come through the way they were intended, and then we surround it with ambience just a little bit off the time. Listen again. I've really been the best of fools. If I get rid of this pre-delay, watch what happens. I'm not going to change the levels at all. I've really been the best of fools. And we don't have a mix in this context necessarily, but it flattened the image. It flattened it. I got this sense that it was going like this. Now, if we put the pre-delay back in, we get this multi-dimensional. We hear depth. I've really been the best. Again. I've really been the best of fools. This is compounded. This effect is compounded when we bring the room reverb back in, because now we have time for the room reverb to do its thing, to broaden the forwardmost image of the voice. We have room there that we've left for the short reverb with the longer reverb. So the short reverb gets to do its thing right away, broaden the image, and then the longer reverb comes in behind it. This is why using two reverbs, a short reflection or a room type thing, and then a hall with the pre-delay on the hall is such a cool way to work. Now, I'm going to bring in both over these phrases. Really been the best of fools. I did what I could, yeah. Let's go to a little bit different part of the song here. I'm about to lose my worried mind. Oh, yeah. Everybody trying to tell me that it made me no good. Over here. That's right. Since I've been loving you, yeah. I'm about to lose my worried mind. Yeah. Watch out! So, I wanted to play a little bit longer for you so you can hear how the reverb becomes part of the performance. As I get louder and higher and more aggressive with the saturation that's happening with the preamps, with the performance itself, because I have this depth, when I'm quieter, you get more of a sense of that broadening image caused by the room reverb. But as I get louder, even though I'm not backing away from the mic, as I get louder, you get a sense for more of the space, more of the hall reverb surrounding the voice. So it naturally plays to the way that my voice is reacting in the room. That's why this is so cool. Now, let's look at how I'm using the delay. It's very strategic, especially on a classic rock type thing like this. You don't want it to be perceived necessarily even as delay. I've got Mod Delay 3 here, which is something that comes stock in Pro Tools, but really any delay plugin will work. And what I've done is I have synced it to a quarter note tempo, and I have taken each side off in milliseconds just a little bit, which helps me to widen the sound of the delay. I'm going to mute the other effects here, and we're going to just listen to the delay right here in this section. Everybody trying to tell me that it made me no good. All right, it's a rhythmic delay, but you can hear it if you're listening in headphones, which you should be. You can hear that it's not right here. I have taken the milliseconds, and I've shifted them off just a little bit. Even though it's a time delay, it's moved the image of the delay out from the center. That way, the delay is not walking on the original performance. The other thing that I've done is I've diversified it with frequency. This is the stock EQ plugin inside Pro Tools. We're not hearing any lows, and I've gotten the sibilance out. So we don't hear some of it, but we don't hear a lot of S's and P's and T's and some of that high sound. It becomes an ambient addition and an extension of the hall sound reverb. They're all sort of playing after one another. So we get that close image of the original recording. The delay is out of the way. The room reverb has room. The hall reverb has its own space. And now the delay has its own space. And there's two other components that we need to talk about when it comes to delay. First is tempo sync. You can see here, what I did is I took the Led Zeppelin ISO track here, and I just tapped the tempo out and came up with 124 quarter notes, and then played with the right setting for the pacing of the vocals. I'm about to lose my worried mind. Oh, yeah. So when you listen in the context of the full track, can hear the ambience caused by the delay. I'll solo that out. But there's this sense, even though it's rhythmic, you're not hearing it as rhythmic, although you would if it wasn't timed to the track. So it's very important that even ambient delays are tied to the track. People will argue with me on that, and that's fine. There's no hard and fast rules. I have found, though, that even your ambient delays should be tied to your track. I'm going to bring in the reverbs and the delay and show you the final component that really makes this delay reverb combination or trio, trifecta, work. And that is, we've automated the level of the delay, not the mute. The mute, bringing the delay in and out for certain parts can be useful for some styles, but this vocal was recorded all in one take. It's kind of a live in the studio thing, and it's a very improvisational sort of thing. So what I've done is I've taken the delay down in certain areas where my voice is more rhythmic and brought it up where my voice is more, where I'm holding out longer notes. So you can see here in this section, from 7 to 11 every night. I said it kind of makes life a drag. So you can hear the delay very little, especially in the context of the track. I've brought it down, but it's still there, creating that depth that we've talked about in this signal chain. But then as I move into longer, more aggressive notes, as my voice catches the hall reverb more, I also bring in more delay. That's right! And it really works well on some of these improvisational areas in the bridge or the solo. Bringing it back down for some of the more rhythmic parts. Same thing over here. We've got this. You can almost see where I'm gonna make things go crazy. Here we've got less. And all my tears, they felt like rain. You can still hear it. Don't you hear them? Don't you hear them falling? Don't you hear them falling? Now, if I were to go back and I would do this, I would bring the delay down there. Don't you hear them falling? So you didn't hear that happening over the articulation of the consonants. That's really what I'm listening for. I would probably want to do that here as well, where I want those articulations, that delay to wash over that long, intense note. But I don't necessarily want it to get in the way of the consonants and create, even though I'm minimizing the sibilance with the EQ that I've got on the delay, I really don't want it to go the other direction where I'm competing with myself. Hear them! Don't you hear them falling? Don't you hear them falling? That sounds much better. Let's listen to that in context. Don't you hear them? Don't you hear them? Yeah, that works way better. I hope you've enjoyed this look at layering, delays, different types of reverb, and playing to the context of what the vocalist or your voice is doing to bring out the right balances and the right depth of space. After all, that's what these ambience effects are for defining and enhancing your space. Again, if you'd like more help with your recordings, click that link below and join my free recording course. We'll see you for more.